Welcome to another episode of the Nintendo Powercast, Nintendo News Daily. I'm your host, N64 Josh, and you guys can hear me this time because I was muted while I was recording the footage that you're watching me play, just in case, it's Mario Kart, so you never know what's going to come out, right? Before we jump into this, I want to let you guys know that today's episode is going to be looking at a number of headlines, and then we're going to just talk Switch 2 sales numbers as our main talking point. I want to remind everybody to make sure you're subbed on YouTube or follow me on IG, something along those lines, so that you can see the Nintendo Today or Today in Nintendo History shorts that I put out every day, and leave some comments on there, because I want to start reading some of those comments right here on the show. So today's game was The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. I've only played just a little bit of it, but I had a great time with it. The little bit that I played, after like looking at footage and recording the content, I'm like, yo, I feel like I could jump back into this and it's going to put me right back into that time period again. So maybe it may have to become our game of the week or game of the game of the month, so that we can all get a chance to play through. So welcome on in, everybody. I am fighting a cold, so if you hear me mute, it's just so I can cough periodically, because this thing is hanging on and lingering for some reason. So that is no fun at all. All right. Well, we're gonna jump into the news, but I just got a message in the chat from Champ's Horror Corner that says check Wario's tweet. Okay. Let's see. Hang on. Let's see what is very interesting here. Yeah, there's a lot to dive into here. We will add this into the last section of the show, into the main topic, because wow, that's a lot. That is honestly kind of insane. So it's talking about all kinds of sales numbers that we will get into in the last section here. Let's jump into this thing now. So, and I do apologize, guys, for the just for the way I sound and everything, because again, just this cold. So bear with me here. Nintendo reconfirms release windows for major upcoming Switch 2 games, and Switch, of course. First up, looking at a number of Switch 2 games, we got Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, which is just a couple days away. We are going to be looking at the review roundup on that one. Kirby Air Riders, the 20th this month. We should be, I think, this upcoming weekend doing the first playtest for that. So you guys will get to go hands-on with it. Once I played it, I was like, I'm sold. It's fantastic. And even if you have Mario Kart, it's a different experience. So really excited for that one. Metroid Prime 4, we're finally starting to see a marketing push on this one. Super excited for that. Animal Crossing New Horizons, Nintendo Switch 2 edition. I'm warning you guys right now, expect more Animal Crossing content from me, because I got bit this weekend once again by the Animal Crossing bug. So excited to jump back into that. Mario Tennis Fever, also looking at February 12th, 2026. You got Super Mario Brothers. The name here is crazy. Super Mario Brothers Wonder, Nintendo Switch 2 edition, meet up in Bella Bell Park. It's so crazy. Like, what a mouthful. I wonder if it rolls off the tongue better in Japanese, maybe. I don't know, but that is such a crazy name. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. I'm optimistic about this one. I'm optimistic about this one. Pokemon Pokepia. Yeah, that one's money right there. Fire Emblem, Fortune's Weave, and Splatoon. Raiders, which, yeah, what? We heard stuff about that and then it just disappeared. For Nintendo Switch, we've got Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, Rhythm Heaven Groove, and Pokemon Champions. So honestly, pretty pretty stellar lineup, and that's all first party stuff. We're not even talking any third party stuff. January, we know we got Final Fantasy and Indiana Jones making its way to Switch 2 there, and that's just, tip of the iceberg. At some point, Borderlands, I assume, is going to be coming out, and we've also got Elden Ring that got that delay as well. So much on the horizon. It's just kind of crazy. Taking a look at games on the horizon, Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment. The reviews are in. We're looking at a Nintendo Life article. It says Nintendo's next big Switch 2 exclusive is just a few days away, and that means impressions and reviews of Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment are rolling in. So let's take a peek here. Looks like RPG Site is equally as glowing as us, rewarding the game a 9 out of 10. Here's a little quote from them. It says, Age of Imprisonment isn't just a great Zelda spinoff, but confidently stands among some of the singular best games in the entire Zelda series. Whew, that's impressive. CG Magazine gave it an 8.5 out of 10. They say Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment had me hooked for its entire 30-hour plus quest. Always torn between wanting to see what happened next in the story and seeking out the components to unlock new features for the characters. Love that. That's a great problem to have. VGC gave it a 4 out of 5. The combat is the best in the Hyrule series to date. And once you've reached the credits about 18 to 20 hours in, there's still a hell of a lot to do thanks to a large map filled with side quests, unlockable characters, and other missions. TJ Denzer over at Shack News gave it a 8 out of 10. Says trying out switch skills and sync attacks between practically every pair of characters were some of my favorite things in this game. I hope Koei Tecmo tries something like them in future games. Slipping into the 7 to 10 scores, GameSpot gave it a 7 out of 10. Says the story doesn't feel essential enough to satisfy pure Zelda fans, but by ironing out its predecessor's performance issues and introducing a varied roster of rewarding characters, Age of Imprisonment marks a high point for the spin-off series thus far. And then lastly, we have Games Radar. They gave it a 3 out of 5, saying it was underutilized spaces and bland maps. This is when I have more fun revisiting the less fully featured Age of Calamity, something has gone amiss. They did call it Age of Imprisonment, I suppose, but I wish they'd let me off the leash a little. Zelda's beam sword hungers for more. The game is currently sitting at a 78 on Metacritic from 52 reviews, and that's almost identical to the score of Age of Calamity. They're and these Hyrule Warriors games all get very, very similar scores, super like high 70s. So I'm stoked for this one. I enjoyed Age of Calamity a ton. This looks so much smoother. And I have I didn't even like Musou games until the Switch and getting into these Hyrule and the Fire Emblem Warriors games. Yeah. So I'm excited for a little just kind of brainless button mashing. That's what these boil down to. But then I am wondering what they're going to do to kind of change up the formula a bit. We had the Divine Beasts in the in Age of Calamity, and I'm curious if we're going to have some levels like that where we're controlling something large, taking out big groups of enemies. How that's all going to play out. So we'll just have to wait and see there, but I am looking forward to it. Next up. Oh, you guys, Metroid Prime 4 sweet new trailer builds the hype for next month's launch. And the little subheading says Akira Slide. And if you guys saw this, like Nintendo's doing some brilliant marketing. And they did pull off the Akira Slide. It's from an anime. I'm not a big anime fan, as most of you probably know, but I did recognize this slide on the bike. Everybody's replies to their tweet was showing the GIF of the Akira Slide, and we need more of this. we need more of this. It feels a bit more like they are not just doing your typical corporate social media push, but that Akira slide and doing some things like that, like that's got a little bit of style to it. You know, it's a little bit different, and I'm here for it. The new trailer looks great. I cannot wait for this game. Like I am beyond hyped. We got Amiibo for this game coming out on Thursday, so be able to pick up some new Amiibo if you're in the market. Quick side note about Amiibo: the Monster Hunter Stories 3 Amiibo got announced, and I believe are available for pre-order at least at GameStop. So I know everybody's wallet's going to be hurting from the all the Amiibo this upcoming year, because there's a lot. There's a lot. Just the Kirby Air Riders alone, like just so many. So crazy stuff there. Super cool to see more Metroid. This one's not quite as hyped. Like, you know, I spent a little bit of time like researching this. I think this is probably going the right way, because I don't think the majority of the public really liked what they were seeing, and that it is ever more likely that Nintendo will lose. Firm faces another setback in battle against Palworld. And so taking a look at the Nintendo Life article, it says Nintendo faces another setback in its legal battle against Pocket Pair and Palworld, as reported by Gamefray via IGN. The U.S. Patent Office boss, John Squires, no, not quite the Stone Roses guitarist, close enough though, that's so funny, has ordered the re-examination of Nintendo's Summon sub-character and Let It Fight patent. The patent was previously granted without any objection to Nintendo, though Squire points to two previous patents from Konami in 2002 and Nintendo itself in 2019, which may be viewed as prior art references. Squire says that both are important in deciding whether the claims are patentable, while each raises a subsequent new question of patentability. It's important to note that the re-examination doesn't necessarily mean that the patent will ultimately be rejected, but Gamesfray writer Florian Mueller says that this is now highly likely given the circumstances. Mueller also says that the very nature of the re-examination further undermines the credibility of Nintendo's patent. And so I don't know how much you guys have like dug into this outside of like, I got tired of listening to people like myself, just YouTubers and stuff, talk about this, because a lot of times it's just opinions thrown in with maybe some cherry picked headlines, or, you know, more what they think about the situation versus like what is actually happening here. And so I spent a fair amount of time kind of researching this. And by the time I was done, I really didn't land on like a definitive opinion of like, I can kind of see where both parties are coming from. I can see the dangers of Nintendo patenting things like this, and, you know, where does it stop? At the same time, I can see their reasoning behind it is like, well, we kind of came up with this, and then anybody can reap the rewards of it. But is what they came up with so unique that it's not like, we also see it in other games, right? So it's not a situation that is like super black and white. I know people were running with their pitchforks to just be like, yo, Nintendo is the big bad bully in this one. Get him out of here. I think the right decisions are being made so that creativity doesn't get squandered and squashed, you know, like I can kind of see Nintendo's perspective on it, but at the same time, it's one thing if they're out blatantly trying to use or copy, let's say, you know, a Pokemon, Pikachu, whatever the case may be. But like, we're talking about, what is the exact terminology here? The summon sub character and Let It Fight. It's basically what was happening in Arceus, and I think happened in Scarlet and Violet with Pokemon. So that's kind of something that like that could be used in and I'm sure has been used in other games. Like there were other games being referenced uh, early on with a lot of the videos and stuff that were coming out. So we'll keep an eye on this and see where it goes. But it's not looking good for Nintendo at the moment. Speaking of things that aren't looking good, Digital Eclipse scrambling to address the issues with the Mortal Kombat Legacy collection. The quote here says, "I'm running on fumes." So, and some PS5 players are already getting refunds, I guess. Uh, here's a tweet from Stephen Frosty Frost. Says, "Hi all. Tried to respond to as many people today as I could, but I need to step away for today and get some needed rest. I'm running on fumes a bit. Should have some more updates about the collection tomorrow or Tuesday. Thanks for your patience." Looking at the article, it says, indeed, we heaped praise on the games for its excellent interactive documentary and wide selections of games in our 7 out of 10 review. We noted that online functionality is simply not up to scratch at the moment. Additionally, an issue which lowering the in-game difficulty setting doesn't provide adequate respite for players struggling against the AI. It has also been acknowledged by developer Digital Eclipse. In fact, this latter issue appears to be so prevalent that some players over on PS5 have actually been awarded full refunds from Sony. A Reddit post from user Natural Parsnip stated that the AI input reading is a downright nightmare. Digital Eclipse is, however, working really hard to resolve the issues that have risen since launch. From what I was seeing, also that the online not too great on Mortal Kombat, which is just a bummer. Played it at PAX West, had a really I loved it. Was like this is a must own for me. I may wait a little bit just to let them work out some of the kinks, or it is coming physical later. So if you wanted to wait on physical, you would have that option. I'm not sure on the logistics of Switch and Switch 2 and what they're doing on all those things. I haven't looked into it yet, but we'll just have to wait and see exactly what's happening there. But yeah, I hate to see these kind of things happen where they launch and then they're just a mess. Like you just end up with egg on your face where you're better off just like maybe they needed to do a beta or something, do some kind of a beta test where you can get some input prior to launch so you can make the necessary tweaks and get those patches made. So unfortunately, off to a bit of a rough start, but this is definitely one that will be in my collection because I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan from all the way back in the arcade. All right, well, that's our headlines for today. Let's jump into our main topic, which is going to be Switch 1, Switch 2 sales, the game sales. There's a whole lot to look at here, so let's jump into this. Okay, well, mentioned at the beginning of the show, I want to pull up the Wario tweet here. It says 400 million Nintendo accounts have been created. 128 million annual playing users. 84% of Switch 2 players transitioned from Switch. Preparing more movies in the future. They've got question marks on these. They've got the Mario movie, the next Mario movie, the Zelda movie, and then they're showing 2 others. This is like the official documentation from Nintendo. 950 million downloads of mobile apps, and so Nintendo Switch Online members, they still sit at 34 million, which is that I find so interesting. And you got I have a hard time believing that anybody listening to the show doesn't have NSO. At least the baseline. So that number seems it seems low to me. I don't know what you guys think in the chat, but like that number does not seem as high as like I would have expected it to be. 154 million Switch 2s or Switch 1s, I think, and we'll take a look, but only 34 million, and I don't feel like that number has moved all that much. Like it's almost like they're not getting many new people, or if I remember correctly, there are some free-to-play games that don't require it, so you could be playing Fortnite, I believe, and you don't need NSO for that. And I know firsthand that there are a lot of kids playing Fortnite on Switch 1. Like no question there. So I just want to take a look at a few of the other so they're just going into the details of like 84% of Switch 2 users came over from Switch 1. So 15% are brand new, which is that's kind of a hefty number, I would say. So, and then 950 million downloads of their mobile apps is also pretty crazy. Like that is just wild. And I want to camp on this for a second with their mobile apps. Nintendo could do something incredibly special with mobile apps. They could come out with versions of the games that add to the current games. For instance, Mario Kart Tour. You could have unlocked costumes in Mario Kart Tour that you then, put into Mario Kart World or, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I feel like Pikmin could have some kind of connectivity. Animal Crossing could have been huge, and that was kind of what was promised. And we got a little bit of stuff from Pocket Camp in New Horizons, but it wasn't something that was like overly impressive, right? Like I feel like if they focus less on the mobile monetization strategy and thought more about mobile like we would expect Nintendo to do, I feel like they could have a much better success rate with this stuff. I would play Pocket Camp when I'm out if I know that what I'm going to be doing in that game is going to benefit what I'm doing in New Horizons. And so I do think that they could, and where this all spawns from is if you go back to the N64 and the Game Boy, you could play Mario Golf and bring your character over from Mario Golf on Game Boy into the 64. That kind of stuff, albeit like maybe a bit silly, also makes it very fun. Like I loved that stuff. Animal Crossing on GameCube and being able to bring NES games on the go with you, going to, I believe it was Tortimer's Island, Game Boy Island, right? Was only possible by hooking up the Game Boy. And I mean, this even goes back to like, I believe it was the Dreamcast and like having those little like essentially like what Tamagotchis or whatever in the save pack or something along those lines. Like I never had the Dreamcast. I just remember seeing this kind of stuff. But that kind of stuff where you take on the go and continue the game, I would love that. I see Joey is here talking Donkey Kong Bonanza. Before I even read his message here, it says Donkey Kong Bonanza, they could have a Banana Finder app. They could have you earning chips or Bananium or whatever in the app that then comes over to the game. And I feel like that's a much more Nintendo approach than like, and don't get me wrong, I mean, it doesn't have to be an either or situation. Fire Emblem Heroes has made them tons. But then Shadows, I don't think is doing quite the numbers they'd hoped. Animal Crossing seemed like it was a very successful app for quite some time until they shut it down. But it could have been so much more. It literally could have been like the New Leaf of of mobile. And that to me would have been a much better choice in the long run, not just selling the fort. Like the monetization in Pocket Camp, I wanted zero to do with, because I'm like, what does it matter? They had some of the coolest events in Pocket Camp where I could unlock and get cool like Mario related items, but they're stuck in Pocket Camp. And that's not where the community is at. My community is at, that kind of stuff. So it's not, I'm not able to show it off really. So it's like, what's the point? Nadian A says, well, the Zelda app is fantastic, but that's in the Nintendo app. Yeah, and I do believe like that's very much a step in the right direction, right? Like that's very much a step in the right direction. But I mean, even with a Zelda app, like maybe there's materials or rupees or something that, like, if you have the Zelda mobile app, and this is just pure speculation, like just having fun conversation, but maybe it's like the Sheikah Slate kind of thing. Link opens it, you transfer all the rupees that you've, maybe it's little Zelda mini games, like whatever the case may be, but just having those talk to each other and link up, it's just another level of fun that I really do enjoy. So Joey's like, what about the sales numbers for Donkey Kong? Well, we're getting there. We are definitely getting there. So top 10 best selling Nintendo Switch games as of September 2025. So Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sitting at 69.56 million. Animal Crossing New Horizon, 48 million. 0.62. Also, that number is going to go up, you guys. That number is definitely going up. I wouldn't be surprised. I'll say, how about the next report we get? Animal Crossing is sitting at. I'll go a little bit high. I'll say 52. You guys think the Switch 2 update could bump Animal Crossing up to 52? Wait and see, but that's what I'm thinking. Smash Ultimate 36.93, Breath of the Wild 33.34, Odyssey 29.84, Scarlet and Violet 27 and 26, Tears of the Kingdom 22.15, Super Mario Party 21.23, and Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe 18.53. Now, Mario Kart World 9.57. There's 10 million Switches and almost as many copies of Mario Kart. Now, granted, it was bundled, so I mean, a little bit of savings. You get Mario Kart, like it's a win-win for everybody. Crazy though, crazy. And it doesn't. I mean, I doubt it has any signs of stopping. And wait till we start getting more Mario Kart news, and it's just going to be, it's just going to keep going. It's going to be great. Donkey Kong Bonanza sitting at almost 3.5 million, which is again, like, great. Here's the thing that's crazy. We're talking about it in Discord, and I'd have to go and check, but the last time I looked at like Astrobot's numbers, I want to say it was like it didn't even hit 2 million or something like that. And I could be wrong, but let's look it up real quick. And this has nothing to do with like console warring, but just crazy to me that, like, okay, it's up to 2.3 million now. But still, that's over the life, and it was 1.5 by early November of last year. And you're talking about a huge install base. A huge install base with the PlayStation. What got me thinking is I would bet you the majority of people that bought Astrobot own a Switch, and they're probably Nintendo fans also. But I also think it's a bit of a bummer that kind of a game isn't getting more love on the PlayStation side, because it's a fantastic game. But it is crazy to me that Donkey Kong already sold almost 3.5 million, Mario Kart at 10, and like there's just a little over 10 million Switch 2s in the wild. These are impressive numbers that are only going to continue to get better as time goes on. Switch is poised to be Nintendo's best-selling console of all time. Only 10,000 units separate it from the DS. It's going to beat the DS, you guys. I saw somebody post a picture of Sony with a metal detector. Like it said, it was a picture of a guy on the beach with a metal detector, and it said Sony looking for more PS2 sales before these numbers came out, which just cracked me up. But yeah, it's looking like, alas, it hasn't quite happened yet. 154.01 million units. The Switch is a mere 10,000 units away from the DS. And considering the data is only viable to the end of September 2025, it's likely that the gap has already been closed in a couple of months, following. So crazy. So crazy. Now Nate's bringing up a good point. Like on the flip side, 165, million Switches and Switch 2s combined, and Metroid sells like 2.7 million. Yeah, I hope not. Buy Metroid, you guys. Buy Metroid. I hope that game does well. Yeah, it's crazy looking at just the way the Switch has just made its way up the ranks. And Switch 2 is sitting at the bottom right now. By March, we're probably going to see it will have surpassed the Wii U in its first 6 to 9 months. It's going to be crazy. Switch 2 currently sitting at over 10 million, and Nintendo increases the forecast even further. So the console is now sold. Remember, this is as of September 30th, 2025, has sold at least 10.36 million units, according to the official figures, which seemingly more than even Nintendo itself was anticipating. And as such, the company has increased its forecast for the year, bumping expected Switch 2 sales up to 15 million to 19 million. Switch 2 software has seen a similar jump from 45 million to 48 million. Naturally, this means that sales for the original Switch family of systems have tanked, with the console pulling a meager 1.8 million in sales, a hefty drop of 60% year on year. As a result, Nintendo has decreased the forecast for Switch accordingly, lowering console sales from 4.5 million to 4 million. On the flip side, however, thanks to the magic of backwards capability, the software forecast has been increased from 105 million to 125 million, a bump of 19%. Insane. It's just crazy. It is crazy. And I feel like it is just a great time to be a Nintendo fan. The company is doing very well. There's so much to play. And I do think it's worth noting, Dragon Drive and Welcome Tour did not even get mentioned because the sales were apparently so low on both of those, which is a bit unfortunate. But again, maybe Welcome Tour should have been that pack-in, like people have said in the past. And Dragon Drive honestly felt like it would have been a good NSO title. Like throw that on NSO, maybe try to boost a bit more subscriptions, just to sweeten the pot a little bit. So taking a look at chat, let's see. Is it Argunaut says, I want Prime 4 day one. Let's go. Joey says, but is that Nintendo sales like sold to the stores or stores selling the unit? That's a good question. I would assume that it's the units they have moved, right? Not necessarily what's sitting in stores, but I don't feel like stores keep like insane overhead like that was back in the day. Like you go through Target right now, and sometimes games are sold out. You know, even when I picked up Galaxy 1 and 2, there was like not that many copies. You know, Pokemon didn't have that many copies. I saw one Pokemon bundle Switch 2 in the wild. Like I've seen one so far. So I don't know that their overhead is quite as crazy as, you know, like going back in the day to like a Toys R Us or something along those lines, where it was like they would keep those games packed in those stores. It seemed like anyway as a kid. So I don't they're probably relatively close, I would say. As far as the kind of the breakdown of Switch 2, the Americas are 3.68 million. Europe is 2.4 million. Japan 2.35 million. And then other is 1.93 million. It says, with the help of bundles, Mario Kart World has sold an extraordinary amount, shifting a total of 9.57 million units since launch. A remarkable attach rate of over 92%. Meanwhile, it has been confirmed Donkey Kong, like we already talked about, 3.49 million, which perhaps isn't as high as fans would have hoped. Still, it's a good start nonetheless, and I agree. And it's a game that's there now, and it can continue to sell year after year. You know, Nintendo can. They've done it. I think they did a demo for it. There's obviously sales they can do. They could do free to play weekends for this game. Like they can still do. It's a fantastic title. Like it is a must own Switch 2 title if you're a Nintendo fan, in my mind. Like if you bought the Switch 2 to play first party games, Donkey Kong should be on your list for sure. And I think Donkey Kong will be pretty big under the Christmas tree this year as well, as a great secondary second game to the console. Midfi Senpai says, my son will never know the joy of Toys R Us. I weep for his future. You could take him up to Canada. They got Toys R Us there. So there's still hope. You don't have to weep. You don't have to weep too much. There's still a bit of hope there. But well, guys, my voice is just about gone, as you can hear. Thank you so much for hanging out and being amazing as always. And all I got to say is remember to play it loud. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye now.